Season 3, No More Nice. This episode is entitled, She Thinks She Has a Broken Heart, but the truth is, she has broken boundaries. What if what we're calling heartbreak isn't always heartbreak? What if some of what we're carrying isn't the result of losing love, but the result of continuously pouring love into places that never learned how to pour back? Because many women, especially women who naturally nurture, encourage, support, share resources, build, serve, and uplift others, often find themselves emotionally exhausted. And it's not because we lack strength, it's not because we lack resilience, not because we lack love, but because we've spent years, decades pouring into people, places, and things in organizations, churches, and jobs, friendships, frenemies, and relationships that have never demonstrated reciprocity. And eventually the heart feels the weight of that imbalance. Today we're talking about the difference between a broken heart and broken boundaries, and why the two are not always the same thing. Hey y'all, I'm Madison Samone Chase, also known as Miss Chase. I was raised in church, and my faith journey has always been at the center of who I am. And I'm incredibly thankful to have been raised by a hardworking, sacrificial, high-performing single mother who remains my biggest fan and my forever best friend, for real, my BFF, my bestie. Honoring God through service, making my mama proud, and using the gifts he gave me has always been deeply important to me. But somewhere along the way, while building dual careers in healthcare and wellness, showing up for people, working with celebrity clients, interviewing celebrity clients, serving, helping, supporting, encouraging, sharing resources, and constantly being nice, I started noticing a recurring theme in both my personal and professional life. I realized there's a difference between being kind and being endlessly accessible. There's a difference between service and overextension. There's a difference between kindness and discernment, kindness with discernment, and niceness without boundaries. And slowly, I began recognizing how many people, places, and things in my life were constantly taking without ever truly pouring back into me. And that realization didn't make me stop being who I'm called to be. It made me honest. And honesty became the beginning of my rebuilding season and my healing journey. So now in season 3 of Cut to the Chase at 8, with 337, maybe 338 episodes, this podcast has evolved into something revelatory. And this is now C2 TC8, which stands for Cut to the Chase at 8, Her Circle. Her standing for high performing, empowered women ready to thrive. A space for her circle. And women who are ready to stop merely surviving and finally begin rebuilding, thriving, discerning, healing, and becoming in real time who we're purposed to be. And alongside that rebuilding and that healing journey is the soulful CEO, the soulful CEO. Not as perfection, but as a commitment to stop shrinking, stop overthinking, stop overextending, stop abandoning discernment, and stop delaying the purpose, vision, the peace, and calling God placed inside each of us. So whether you're a high-performing single mother, like my mom, or a high-performing mother, a caretaker, a foster care parent, a godmother, an entrepreneur, a doggy mom, an aspiring entrepreneur working as a 9-to-5 or juggling 2 or 3 jobs, quietly rebuilding, or simply trying to hold yourself together while growing through life in real time, this space and this circle is for you. So if you're listening or watching, pull up a real chair or a digital chair and grab yourself a cup of hot or cold herbal tea, and welcome to my cozy home of Cut to the Chase at 8, now C2TC8. Her Circle, high-performing, empowered women who are ready to thrive, which is a 15-minute micro-learning moment for macro-living transformations. And I am truly overjoyed that you are here, because this is where we explore life together through our lived experiences, yours and mine, while giving ourselves real grace in this space as we navigate some very interesting times. Because here we talk about spirit, mind, and body health, because our health is truly our wealth. in microdoses for macro living. So make sure you join me twice daily for just 15 minutes. New episodes come out the 15th of every month, 30 new episodes, and that is for 15 days. So the 15th of every month through the 30th of every month, twice a day for 15 days at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, because this is your daily pause for a cause for clarity, wellness, discernment, grace, healing, intentional decision making, and rebuilding. Because how we start our day and how we end it matters. Each episode, my offer to you is 3 keys and 1 reflective question. So wherever you're listening from, turn it up and tune in. And if anything you hear today pricks your heart or lights a spark, I'd love for you to subscribe. Share this episode with someone you care about, and please leave a comment so that this episode becomes a dialogue and not a monologue. And leave a 5-star rating or a review so that this space can continue to grow and reach others. Now let's take one breath together. We're going to inhale for 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's lean into today's episode of Cut to the Chase at 8, C2TC8, H.E.R circle. We're going to cut the noise. Let's get clear. Let's get ready, set to go and grow and be great. And leaning towards the life we were truly called to steward. So the title for today's episode is, What if her heart is not broken, but her boundaries are broken? That is what we're going to be discussing today. One of the things I've learned during this rebuilding season is that heartbreak and boundary violations can feel surprisingly similar. Both hurt, both disappoint, both create a grief, both create confusion, both leave us questioning what happened, but they are not the same. Heartbreak is often about loss. Broken boundaries are often about access. And if we don't understand the difference, we could spend years or decades trying to heal a wound that is actually asking for stewardship. And for many women, especially melanated, rich women, this conversation is larger than relationships. It's larger than dating. It's larger than friendship. It's larger than work. It's larger than church. It's larger than your working environment. It's larger than the people that say they're your best friends. It's larger than your frenemies. This conversation is about navigating a world that has not always demonstrated reciprocity. And many of us learned very early how to become dependable, how to become responsible, how to become resilient, how to become resourceful, how to become the one people could count on. And while those qualities are beautiful, they often come up with an unspoken cost. Because the more capable you and I become, the more people begin expecting you to carry it. The more dependable you become, the more people begin depending on you. The more compassionate you become, the more people begin drawing from you. And eventually, if we're not careful, we find ourselves pouring into people, places, and things, organizations, churches, jobs, friendships, and relationships that have not demonstrated reciprocity, and nor do they intend to. And that doesn't mean those people are evil. It doesn't mean they're bad. It doesn't mean they're intentionally taking advantage, but it does mean that somewhere along the way, an imbalance developed. An imbalance of energy, an imbalance of responsibility, an imbalance of emotional labor, an imbalance of stewardship, an imbalance creates exhaustion, because eventually that imbalance creates exhaustion and fatigue. And not because we're weak, and not because we're broken, and not because we're incapable, but because no one was designed to pour endlessly without replenishment. And one of the most difficult realizations in adulthood is discovering that love and access are not the same thing. You could love someone and still limit access. You could forgive someone and still require accountability. You could care deeply about someone and still recognize that the relationship is no longer healthy. You could wish someone well and still create distance. Those are not contradictions. Those are boundaries. And boundaries are not punishment. Boundaries are stewardship. Boundaries help us protect what God entrusted us to: our peace, our energy, our time, our emotional well-being, our purpose, our calling, our capacity to continue serving without becoming depleted. Many women were taught how to love. Many women were taught how to help. Many women were taught how to serve. Many of us were taught how to forgive, but very few of us were taught how to evaluate stewardship. And very few women were taught how to ask, how has this person demonstrated reciprocity? Has this relationship demonstrated reciprocity? Has this workplace demonstrated reciprocity other than your paycheck? How's this friendship demonstrated reciprocity? Has this community demonstrated reciprocity? Has this assignment demonstrated reciprocity? Because discernment isn't only about who we love. Discernment is also about what we continue to carry. And perhaps that's why this episode matters, because many of us are not carrying broken hearts. Many of us are carrying accumulated depletion, accumulated disappointment, accumulated emotional labor, accumulated responsibility, accumulated pouring, accumulated giving, accumulated access, and eventually the heart began signaling that sometimes something needs attention. And not because our heart is weak, but because our heart is wise. And perhaps what the heart is saying is, something here needs stewardship, something here needs discernment, something here needs reciprocity, something here needs a boundary, because rebuilding isn't becoming hard. Rebuilding isn't becoming suspicious. Rebuilding isn't becoming unavailable. Rebuilding is learning how to steward what we've been entrusted with, and that includes our heart. And it's not because it's fragile, but because it's valuable. People, our PPT audit. We're going to start with people. Who currently benefits from my pouring, but rarely pours back? Places. What environment consistently asks for my contribution, but rarely contributes to my well-being? Things. What obligations, habits, or patterns keep me connected to relationships or assignments that no longer demonstrate reciprocity? SAC. Spontaneous assertive communication sounds like, I care deeply about you, but I cannot continue in carrying what belongs to you. I can forgive you and still reevaluate access. I could love you and still require reciprocity, which brings me to the 3 keys. Key number 1, a broken heart and broken boundaries do not create the same pain. A broken heart often requires healing. Broken boundaries require stewardship. Key number 2, reciprocity matters. Healthy relationships are not built on one person constantly pouring while another person constantly receives. Key number 3, discernment helps us identify where our compassion is being invested and whether that investment is being stewarded well. Our reflection question: where in my life am I pouring consistently into people, places, things, organizations, churches, jobs, friendships, or relationships that have not demonstrated reciprocity? So today's episode pricked your heart or lit a spark or gave language to something you've been carrying, or reminding you that your peace deserves stewardship too, and that we can choose to be rooted and reachable or rooted and unreachable, depending on the season we're in and what we're being called to steward and what we're growing through. Then I'd love for you to subscribe, share this episode with someone you care about, and leave a comment so that this becomes a dialogue and not a monologue, that we will continue to grow. And please leave a 5-star rating and review so that this space can continue to grow and serve others. And if you've been quietly rebuilding alongside me, I'd love for you to join the C2TC8 H.E.R Circle, whose goal is to become a soulful CEO community as we continue discerning, healing, growing, rebuilding, and building and becoming together in real time. Because this season is not about becoming silent, It's about becoming rooted. So thank you for joining me for another 15-minute micro-learning moment for macro living transformation. Now let's take one final breath together. We're going to inhale for 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm Madison Samone Chase, and this is Cut to the Chase at 8. Now C2, TC8, her circle for high-performing, empowered women who are ready to thrive. Let's cut the noise. Let's get clear. Let's get ready, set, go, and grow, and be great, and lean into the life we were truly called to steward. Blessings to you and yours. Until tomorrow.